This week, we talk about dinosaurs. I'm Josue Casanova, and this is After the Credits. Tonight we watched Jurassic Park, a Steven Spielberg film made in 1993 about a Costa Rican park that learns how to breed dinosaurs. Now, the night before the park opens, one of the technicians actually cuts the security, and so now everyone is stranded on the island with a bunch of loose dinosaurs. Here to discuss the movies with us are Nathan Riehl and Daniel Rayner, two upcoming filmmakers who are masters of their craft and going to discuss what Steven Spielberg did and did not do right. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. What are your thoughts about the movie in general, Daniel?
It's a classic. It's the last big Steven Spielberg summer blockbuster film. I mean, afterwards he did Saving Private Ryan and kind of late period stuff, but it kind of is the end of an era from Jaws to Jurassic Park.
Cool.
It's a classic Spielberg film that he's most known for. He usually has two different types of films. He does the serious and then the more action-packed, and this is I think one of the best demonstrations of that action genre that he's most a part of.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. What were you guys' favorite parts of the movie?
I would have to say my favorite part would be right when the T-Rex comes out for the first time. I think he does it so well with his angles and keeping up the suspense and drawing it out as much as you possibly can up until the big reveal. And then when he does the big reveal, it's a pretty huge reveal.
Yeah, it's huge.
And the goat's gone and everything.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
So, poor goat.
That was great. And then I love how even though, because that's a huge moment, it's a lot of action and everything. But I love at the same time he mixes comedy in with that.
Yeah.
Because I think every great action movie has to have some comedy in it. So, the T-Rex is chasing them, and I'm remembering the part where the T-Rex flips over the car, and the kids are in it and everything like that.
And
so
they the flashlight.
Right. And so that the guy tries to be a hero and lead him away, and he ends up leading him to the guy in the outhouse. And so I'm just can you imagine? It's gotta be one of the worst ways to die. You're sitting on the toilet and you're eaten by a T-Rex.
The most awesome way to die, I think you mean. I want to go that way.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll find you an outhouse then.
There we go.
But a couple years from now. What's your favorite part?
It's hard to choose because there's so many, but one of the most memorable parts is the opening, because you don't really know what's happening, and you kind of just get it from the visuals. That poor guy gets his leg eaten off by the raptor, and it's a really dark opening for a movie that's pretty lighthearted and fun and adventurous. I mean, obviously there's scary stuff, but a guy gets brutally mauled by a thing you can't see, and it's really scary. It's great.
Yeah, I think that's kind of cool because it kind of ties everything together. It's kind of I think it's almost they hit you with something dark so you're ready for something more lighthearted. So I think that keeps it from being too campy when it first starts out, and there's all the wonder with the dinosaurs and everything like that.
Or the excavation site, and he's playing with the dinosaur, claw thing.
Yes, little fat kid. That was interesting. I thought that was fun. Why do you think this is such a big hit with people? I mean, when it first came out, why dinosaurs?
Well, I don't think it's the dinosaurs. I think it's a really solid mix of there's action, there's comedy, there's suspense, there's a nice human touch to it. It's about adventure and human connection and stuff more than the dinosaurs, which it's pretty cool that he managed to pull that all off. It's not just a horror movie with dinosaurs. It's about characters growing and changing, and even a don't mess with nature sort of thing in there too. It kind of mixes everything in there, and it works really well.
Spielberg even said that when he was looking for the emotional beat of the film, he was trying to tell more of a family drama in a way, which is because they're not really family in the film, but he was trying to show how a family reacts in such situations.
So when we come back, we're actually going to discuss why he made it in the first place. So stay tuned. Now, it was said that Steven Spielberg made Jurassic Park as a way to kind of redeem himself after the whole thing with Jaws, which he considers a washout. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's hard to believe that Spielberg would actually think Jaws was bad. I mean, Jaws is considered a classic. So, I consider the two films different. I mean, every filmmaker redoes a certain story over and over again. Like even Jaws, he considered that film redoing his very first film he did, which was Duel. So films can kind of like the stories, situations can like rehash themselves, but I think what he meant by that in a way was Jaws, like a quick history lesson on that, Jaws went 50 days over schedule, it went over budget, and he was experiencing friction because nobody wanted to work with a young director like he was when he was making Jaws. Well, now with Jurassic Park, he has the budget, the time in the world to do what he wanted with that project.
Yeah.
But it could be something else, but.
Makes sense.
I think Jaws is a very different type of movie. Sure, it's a thriller, sure, it's a creature feature, if you will, but it's like the tale of Moby Dick. It's an obsessed captain.
Yeah.
It's kind of a duel. Like I've seen his first movie, Duel. It is kind of like that. It's a duel between two forces of nature. Jurassic Park's more of a survival. It's more traditional horror survival, even though it's not as scary, if you will.
Yeah.
But I can see why he wanted to redo it, because the animatronics didn't work. The special effects had to be cut down so much that you couldn't really see the shark, which is scary, but kind of felt disappointing.
Yeah.
But it is his like next thriller after Jaws, like 20 years later. But
yeah,
I think it's a very different film. It's definitely the end of an era, but very different.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think because it's so different from Jaws, it's hard to compare. But at the same time, what do you think was common between the two that made them both such successes? Because whether or not he liked Jaws, it was still huge and it was still monumental, film-wise.
Well, I think part of it is it's not a horror movie per se. It's not creepy witches in a castle.
Right.
It's people on a beachfront in New England, and that sort of thing had never been done before, like in that sense.
Yeah.
And it makes you scared of going in the water because there might be sharks there, like no matter where you live.
Yeah. Whereas you're not so much scared of dinosaurs.
But at the same time, I don't think it's really fear with Jurassic Park that drove it. I think it's more the sense of wonderment, and which I think is a Spielberg word that he uses in a lot of interviews, but adventure, if you will.
Yeah.
Rather than like a sense of horror, which I think Jaws is more leaning towards.
So with Jurassic Park, it's more of captivation with a sense of danger.
Yes. You have to have that sense of danger for you to care if about the characters, and if they get out, all right.
That makes sense.
I think with Jurassic Park also, he's kind of, with the whole film, kind of answering the question what it would be like to have dinosaurs today, and just giving audiences that pure thrill, and like almost asking like, be careful what you ask for kind of a deal. Like, this is what it would be like, if you had dinosaurs around.
See, okay, I was thinking about this the other day, and I thought about, I don't know exactly how it came about, but I can totally picture this is how Jurassic Park came about. It's some guy sitting with his friends, like right here, and he's like, it would be awesome if we had dinosaurs, like an entire zoo of dinosaurs. And this one guy in the corner is like, you're kidding. This is, no, you know what would happen if there were dinosaurs?
Jeff Goldblum saying this.
It would be Jeff Goldblum. That guy was sitting there in the production room. He's like, no, everybody would get eaten. Do you know what happened?
Nature finds a way.
And that's where the line began.
I like that.
Thank you.
See, and it's just one of those things, like, I think that's cool because we can see how people are people, regardless of what their prestige is or what their job is or anything like that. They're
just tasty meat.
Yeah, they're just tasty meat.
Yep.
You can see their differences, and I think that came out in Jurassic Park. You have like all these different characters meshing together, and what happens when you throw different people in a room?
Exactly.
Let's be honest though, everybody wanted to be like Jeff Goldblum with the cool like leather jacket.
Exactly.
And like
the little glasses. I'm Ozzy Osbourne, but scientific.
I think also like with both films, even though Jaws is about a shark chasing people and Jurassic Park is about dinosaurs chasing people, both stories are very human stories about how people react in both situations. Even though both films are known for the animal or the monster that's involved, they're very human stories about people reacting in those situations too.
Yeah.
Well, the best of any sort of like movie with any sort of monster or something, it's not about the horror, it's not about the creature.
It makes sense. Like, even though there's a lot of special effects, it's about the people. But speaking of special effects, we're going to be talking about what the special effects were then and how they compared to movies now, because people still say they compare. So when we come back, we'd like to see what it took to create the dinosaurs on the screen. So, even though it's been over 20 years since this movie was made, people still say that the visual effects hold par with what we do today. Like, I was watching it and I saw, like, even the close-ups of some of the T-Rex animatronics, they still look pretty legitimate, even though they added CGI after. What do you guys think?
I think Jurassic Park was like, I mean, for one, Lucasfilms was involved in Industrial Lights and Magic, so they always do like good stuff. But before Jurassic Park, with films like on that scale, it was either they were wholly dependent on animatronics and it didn't work, it didn't look good, or they were fully dependent on CGI and animation, which at that stage didn't work and didn't look good either.
Yeah.
So Jurassic Park was like one of the first films to kind of blend the two together, using animatronics and CGI together to just kind of put it, you know,
make it all work.
Yeah, make it actually work. So I think the reason that film still holds weight today is that it is a good amalgam of both, bringing them together to make it work.
Yeah, that's cool. What do you think?
I recently rewatched it on Blu-ray.
Okay.
And for the first time, maybe it's just me being a nerd and knowing more about movies, but I could tell what was CG and what was animatronic.
Yeah.
But also, I gotta say, I was looking for it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think part of the reason that it still holds up, if you want to say that, today is like the way it's presented. If you just saw like a 3D model on a screen from that era, it would look really bad. But with the John Williams score and, you know, that sense of awe and the big camera moves and all that stuff, I think, you know, when you're in the moment, oh wow, that's a dinosaur, and you're not like thinking critically about it because you're swept up with emotion and wonderment, as Steven Spielberg says. It kind of falls by the wayside. It's not about that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not something that, I mean, it's like you guys were saying before, it's not wholly dependent on the creatures or the dinosaurs. And so because it's not, we're not looking at it so hard that if they're not completely realistic, the whole thing falls apart.
Well, you hear a lot of movies today called an experience. Like, I think they called Interstellar, that's recent, they called that an experience, or Avatar. But the thing is, I would say Jurassic Park is the original like experience, but it's an experience. It's not like an IMAX 4D ride. It's like a really good story, and you are swept away with the world because you're invested in the story that takes you through the world.
Yeah.
So that's how it holds up.
Yeah. You know, I think you're right that they blended everything together and they added just enough to make it work. It wasn't, you know, Steven Spielberg was smart enough not to showcase it. Like, hey, look at all the things we can do with this, because, you know, that's unprofessional. That's doing it just to show off, to say, oh, well, look what we can do. Yeah.
Even the T-Rex is in the rain, in the shadows, and like, it's scary because you can't see all of it really. It's like just lurking there, rather than just displaying it. Look how good our CGI is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or look how good our puppetry is, you know?
Yeah.
I think one quote that kind of sums up what a good visual or special effect is, it's like, you do your job if nobody notices.
Yes.
That's when you actually are a success with visual effects.
That makes
so I
complete
think,
sense.
Yeah. Obviously, dinosaurs don't exist today, so there's always that suspension of disbelief. Like, you can't think, oh, they shot real dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Unless you're completely stupid.
Or just ignorant.
But like recently, I saw the Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
And I forgot they weren't filming real apes for a while because like I was just, I was watching the movie and enjoying it, and I'm like, oh right, yeah, there's a lot of special effects in this movie. I forgot.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you want to have. In Jurassic Park, it's like there's always gonna be that disconnect because, oh, they made that dinosaur look really real because there's no such thing as a real dinosaur today.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a problem, but at the same time, that's why it's so amazing and wonderment.
It's like, I mean, it's like a dragon. Like in The Hobbit and everything like that, when, you know, we saw Smaug and everything like that, it's we're swept away by it, and we're like, oh my gosh, wow, that's incredible. It looks. Yeah. But I mean, obviously, we have nothing else to compare it with. Yeah. So we were invited to go out and imagine with them.
Well said.
I don't know. I think it's really cool as a director that Spielberg had such a range, that he could do incredibly like powerful and, you know, gripping movies like Schindler's List, and then moved to Jurassic Park, which still had an edge, but was still lighthearted. And then from there we have the other end of the spectrum, which is like Hook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like we have that huge range. I think that's really interesting.
I feel like Spielberg. I feel like he started out as like an edgy, like young hip filmmaker. I'm gonna make Jaws and Indiana Jones, where he just murders people and like like he straight up murders some dude. And then I think Jurassic Park's kind of the part where it's, as he's getting older, he's getting more mature. He wants to make stuff that appeals to families, but at the same time he still has that edge just a little bit, and it's the perfect mix. And you could say nowadays he's kind of lost his edge with more family-oriented stuff, but I'm saying Jurassic Park's the perfect middle ground in his career.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Well, that essentially wraps it up. We'll be back after some more messages and things of that sort. Welcome back to After the Credits. Once again, I mean, we're at the end here, so what are some of your final thoughts? You were talking about some of your favorite scenes.
Well, one of the just most fun quotable scenes is when the kind of the zoologist, what was it, the zookeeper guy?
I guess,
the guy with the gun. He's talking about how raptors, like they have their prey and they draw them in with one raptor, and like the two hit him from the sides. And he's like trying to like aim up on that raptor. And then he sees like the one to the side. He goes, "Clever girl," and then he kills him. Which
I don't know, just one of those things.
Perfect
like,
filmmaking.
Clever girl.
Exactly.
I love it.
And with a movie like that, you can't forget quotes like "Hold on to your butts," by Samuel Jackson in Jurassic Park.
Was he ever not smoking a cigarette in that movie?
I don't think so.
I got 99% of my doctor's bills after this movie.
Exactly.
After that, he was totally fine.
Or the computer virus.
Yeah.
Oh.
How can you forget having Newman in the movie?
Yes. He was the part with the. That was that one iconic scene for me was the part where he's in the rain in the car, and it's that one that's go away, like screw you, get out of here, and then it's like, and you're like, oh, this guy's gonna die.
That was a really scary, like he's slipping and like you can't see, and it's just like,
oh yeah.
Which is another testament to Spielberg's just ability to bring the suspense, because you know something's gonna go down.
Yeah.
You know something's gonna go down.
It also plays with like your primal fears, like not being able to see, like slipping around, and not being like completely helpless.
No, it's freaky, and I think one is just so inventive, like using that dinosaur with the acid and everything. But then it's like you said with the suspense in a world where everything's dangerous and everything's trying to kill you. Our suspicion is immediately raised by the thing that looks harmless. It's like, oh, it's just a cute little
Nope.
You know that thing has some hidden weapon or a bunch of friends, and that's exactly what happened. So I thought that was great.
Yeah. It's like one of those films like where you watch the sequels and you start to realize like everything that doesn't work and how like it's perfectly made, the original.
Yeah.
Because the sequel, like the girl kills a raptor with gymnastics.
Yeah.
And like you realize what would happen if any of like the chemicals, like the different ingredients he put in there, like the suspense, the horror, the family, like all that stuff. If any of the ingredients are off a little bit, you get something kind of
in the film. You get. And I think that's the crazy thing about how delicate filmmaking is, how it's strange, like, because you guys obviously you've been on set and you know how crazy it can be. It's like, all right, let's get this done, let's do this, let's get that. And so you have that, but then at the same time, there's this delicate balance. So you have to be like hard-hitting and hard-edged with a thick skin, but at the same time very sensitive and know how to tweak things just enough. So, I don't know, that's incredible.
I think that's like goes back to Spielberg being at that time in his career where he's right in the middle.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us, because this has been a great show. Thank you for joining us, and come and tune in next time to After the Credits, where we'll talk about Forrest Gump. Tune in next time to After the Credits, where we'll talk about Forrest Gump. Is that it?
Imagine dinosaurs in Forrest Gump. Wouldn't that be amazing?